Welcome back to the Lost Previews, where we check out and talk about the preview chapters of The Lost Metal, Book 4 in Mistborn Era 2. My name is Danielle, also known as Fell Candy and 17th Shard, and with me is Marvin.
Hey, I'm Felio.
So this week we have chapters 3, 4, and did you want to go into the summary?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to start with chapter 3 and 4. And there we are back again with Marasi and Wayne, who are in the tunnels under Elendil. And they, in the last chapter we had of them, they found the store, and they are now behind the store and walking down the tunnel. And they find basically a weapons smuggling operation operated by these thugs that they thought were there. And they also noticed that probably an operative of the set is there, a cycle, an officer of the set is there. And they want to sneak in basically, but that's thwarted when a guard is there and raises an alarm. And so they have to fight their way through the thugs. And Wayne is... Marasi is using elementary grenades to incapacitate the thugs, and Wayne is taking them down with his cane, and he's also using a gun there. And then they decide to split up, so Wayne takes care of the bandits there, and because the officer is fleeing, and Marasi decides to chase after him, and that's where the chapter ends.
Yeah. One thing that really stuck out to me when I read this chapter, or these two chapters, was what we had mentioned before about how Marasi and Wayne are kind of getting along really well. They're kind of really good partners. They kind of riff off of each other and joking around, which I thought was kind of nice. It kind of makes Wayne feel a little less cringy and a little more accepted.
Definitely, yeah. I totally agree there. Like with Wax, it was always sort of a little weird, their dynamic, or not weird. It was also fun to read at times, but it's always like, okay, Wax immediately is like,
so annoyed.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, Wayne, just shut up and do your job. While Marasi, she's like, okay, she says or points out what's problematic about Wayne's humor, but she's also like, okay, I can go in on this joke, and like she also goes back and agrees with him and like jokes along with him. And I find it really nice to see that it's a different dynamic we see from them. As like, it's not just the same detective and his helper. It's different. Yeah.
I loved when Wayne mentions that he's observationalizing about the nature of the Cosmere and the relationship between the genders. Yeah. And then Marasi's like, okay, on a scale, how misogynistic is what you're about to say going to be? I thought that was hilarious.
Was it a 15, I think, out of 17? Yeah.
Yeah, and then she goes, well, why didn't you just use 16?
Yeah.
Love these little like callbacks to things.
Yeah, definitely. And it's I know I could read an entire book that's just like them do like a real buddy cop sort of novel.
Yeah.
I could totally
The Adventures of Marasi and Wayne.
Yeah.
Of course, he is still, I mean, his humor is still really cringy. Like, he's done a dad joke, and she said, like, my dad used to say that with talking about like how women are ferrochemists because they can change their weight on a whim.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he is getting into the sort of territory where he would be a dad, like age-wise, so it's understandable for him to sort of get into that. Although Wax would be the one to actually make the dad jokes, but I don't think Wax is the type.
He doesn't seem like a dad joke kind of person.
Definitely. Yeah, but another fun thing, speaking of like women, and, is that Marasi actually has a boyfriend named Alec. And because they also they talk about how like people are hotter without their clothes on. And Marasi says, okay, Alec is hotter without his mask on. I find it really funny. And
I feel like this conversation was just like a way for Sanderson to remind us of like where the people are and kind of set the stage for where people are in their relationships and things. But it was still really nice to hear them banter about that.
Yeah. And I think especially like Alec and Marasi was something like people suspected already, or were like or basically it wasn't confirmed, of course, in Bands of Mourning, but they sort of how Ellie gave her like hot chocolate, and I think there was some really lovely scenes between the two, and I think it was like only a matter of time for them to become a couple. So I'm really excited. Oh, I don't know. I like them as a couple, I think. Yeah.
I also really like how he kind of helped her get over her worry about her allomancy because she was very embarrassed by it. But he's like, you're really strong. You have one of the best allomantic powers. And then he, showed her these magic hand grenades that use her abilities. And I thought that was really a neat introduction to kind of a new aspect of the magic system.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I am wondering whether Alec only was talking about like the combat applications of her abilities there, because they're obvious, like you can put people into stasis more or less and incapacitate them that way.
Useful.
Yeah. But like outside of combat, I don't really see much of a use to it. I guess if you wanted to keep food, no, you'd only speed it up inside. Yeah. No,
well, I guess if you're waiting for your bread to rise or your dough.
Something like that. Yeah, true. But I was wondering if you might also be referring to cadmium compounding, which is basically this idea that if you have a cadmium metal mind, which stores breath, so you're the breath you breathe out, not like another kind of breath you have in the Cosmere.
Right. Lowercase breath.
Yeah, lowercase breath. You have to clarify that. And when you then burn that metal mind as a cadmium allomancer, you then get more of the ferrochemical ability out of it. And that would be maybe useful. Like if you, I don't know what the southern continent looks like, but also for the airships, maybe if they want to go high up, they need air supply. And that might be another aspect of why he thinks the power is useful.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about like cadmium compounding because I don't have all of those like in my mind as I'm reading.
Keep in mind, definitely.
I read to get away from school.
But just how much do you get out of compounding?
It is nice to see Marcy kind of accepting her abilities, but also we notice that in this like firefight, Wayne is able to hold his own with a gun and using his speed bubbles and things. So he showed some improvements as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I guess he's not fully there yet because like he doesn't shoot at people. He shoots at the air more or less to keep them away.
Make them take cover. And,
but he's definitely slowly getting there and like, okay, I can handle guns now. He's only a little shaky. I think also Marasi notes like he's getting there. Yeah.
But his speed bubbles, Marcy actually, I don't know if she says anything to him or if she's thinking it, but she mentions that she's wondering if he talked to Wax about it. And that made me think maybe he's approaching some kind of level of savantism or something with his, I don't know how to pronounce it, Bendalloy?
Yeah, Bendalloy, I don't know.
Because he's able to use his speed bubbles faster and faster. So the more he uses them, the faster they get, I guess. And then he's also able to control the size of them because he was using them along with her magical hand grenades.
Yeah, I think in general, like, I agree that it approaches savantism, although like Danger Evgeny, we don't know what if savantism still is as much of a thing, but it's definitely on the sort of same level as Wex with his sort of steel bubble that he creates where he keeps off bullets. I think we are basically in the same territory for Wayne here, and I think it again shows how creative Brandon gets with this magic where like Wayne then puts some people that are in the cadmium bubbles from Marasi into his own speed bubbles so they get normal time again and so he can beat them up basically. It's a lot of fun to see, I think.
Yeah. One thing that almost seemed like a throwaway line to me, but I kind of fixated on it a little bit was he was using his bubbles and it was getting faster and faster. Like he could run a little bit and then use another one and run a little bit and use another one. And Marcy was thinking to herself, oh, he's not running out of his Vendaloy. So I'm wondering if maybe he's even using more efficiently or less, because she mentioned like he wastes it on stuff that he doesn't need to use it on, and that she was going to, get more from I don't know, the police force or whatever. Like, but then she thinks about how she's proud of him for not wasting it and stuff. But I'm wondering if maybe because like it's a kind of a weird thing for her to be thinking in the middle of a fight. Yeah. So I was thinking maybe it's like a kind of something saying maybe he's using it better or using less of it to get the same results or more efficiently.
I don't actually know if we have any warps on whether Allomancers get more efficient as they... I think they do, but it's been some time since I've really delved
like if you have like a 1 millimeter bead and a 2 millimeter bead, if you can use the one and have the same ability as when you used to use 2. I don't know.
That's I could definitely see that like as you use your abilities more, because they also affect like your spirit weapons and things like that, you get more efficient at them. And but it's complicated because you also have like inherent ability, like Ellen was a stronger Allomancer than Wynn, for instance, but she had more skills with her powers, so it's always difficult to compare that. But yeah, I totally could see him getting more efficient at it, and because you mentioned it, this line about how he would always use his Bandaloy for like shenanigans is also just such a Wayne thing to do. I really like that. Yeah, that little throwaway
But I mean,
line.
That probably helped him get better at it.
Oh yeah,
because he's using it more and more. So
and maybe he is still doing that and just is more efficient at it, and so Marasi doesn't notice.
Let's talk about the actual people that they're fighting, because this is the first time that we kind of see who they were going after. We get a new rank in the set, the cycle.
I guess we are continuing this mathematical sort of notation, because we have a cycle now, then we have a suit, which Marasi says is like directly above a cycle. Then we have a sequence, which Talsin, for instance, is, so Wex's sister. And we also have Array as a title, which...
Where was Array from? I don't remember that one.
It is Professor or Doctor, or whatever his name is, Iric in Bands of Morning, the scientist who walks around with a cane, I think.
Okay.
And he's an Array as far as I'm aware. So I'm not sure if it's like an actual rank that goes in between, I guess, suit and sequence maybe, or is on the same level as suit is, and it's not just like a separate hierarchy for the scientists there, but it's definitely this sort of, because it's also called the set, which of course is a mathematical object. And then we have all these like cycles are a mathematical thing, sequences are a mathematical thing, suits not so much, but I guess you could also somehow put them there.
They kind of reminded me of like card games, like playing with a deck of cards too. Like Sequence is a game that you play with cards. So there was, I don't know. It's just kind of a neat little trope that they have going on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And the first people that they see are playing cards.
I also really noticed it. Okay. Yeah. But we did see another cycle apparently before in Miles 100 Lives. Which is interesting to note that like we knew he was associated with the set, but we didn't know like at which level.
But now we know what level of officer he was in the set. I just thought that these are all really nice names for cryptics from Stormlight.
they definitely are. Especially Cycler, I think is like that could definitely be a cryptic. Yeah.
So that's really interesting about like the set itself. And what they're doing is Marcy's whole theory is that they're funneling weapons to this town of Bilming, which is like a port town. And that's kind of a little scary thinking about that, because we're talking in the other chapters about civil war and uprisings and losing the ability to vote, and kind of a big storm is just brewing in these first few chapters.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like the set basically wants the outer cities to be in full-on rebellion and like start a civil war, more or less. But it is pretty interesting in general to see that Elendil apparently has forbidden weapons to be traded out of the city, and it's like, okay, it makes sense from their perspective, I guess, but it's also like, okay, it's a bit weird that you would be doing that. Yeah.
Kind of make me a little worried about what is going on in Bilming, because we know from the blurb that we covered in one of the episodes that, Harmony is in the dark about what's going on there and stuff. So we have that to think about as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we know from the blurb as well that we'll be going there, so that's definitely something to look forward to. But yeah, we are getting a lot of setup for it, definitely, and looking forward to seeing how that will escalate that conflict.
Yeah.
A quick note on, because we've talked or just mentioned that she uses elemental grenades, but she also talks about how they have improved them. So, for instance, they now get the full ability out of it, because apparently before you are not get the full ability out of it, but if she fills the elemental grenade, she doesn't use her powers at all, more or less. It goes directly, everything goes into the cube. So
it's
they improve
charging it up or something.
Yeah, so they're making a lot of progress on that front, and I just want one chapter or a scene where either a Malwish person or Wax goes nerding or nerds out about we have done this to the grenades to improve them this way. I hope there's a scene like this in the book.
Our gentleman, lawman, scientist Wax.
Check of all trades, yeah.
Well, I think that covers everything that I wanted to say. Did you have anything else?
Pretty quick. That's a short chapter. Yeah.
Really exciting. I'm really happy to be doing this series again. I'm ready to get this book.
Definitely, it has been okay, the hype recently, before these previews started coming out again, but now that they're out again, I'm okay, I'm starting to feel hyped a little bit, and it's only going to get better the closer we come to the release.
Definitely. All right, well, thank you, Marvin. That was a great discussion on those last chapters. And for the rest of our viewers, please come and discuss these chapters with us on 17thshard.com. Join us on our Patreon, our Discord, and our forums for all of your Brandon Sanderson content needs. Bye.
See you next week. Bye.